Hello, I'm Jared. Welcome to my explanation and walkthrough of this simple RAG system that I created with OpenAI assistance and the OpenAI API. I'm a musician, and sometimes with electronic music, you are using samples, and sometimes those samples are coming from other people's music. And I think there's a lot of myths and misconceptions regarding copyright infringement when it comes to music and sampling. So I thought it would be helpful for me to create a little personal project that was an AI chatbot assistant that would help me figure out if what I'm doing may or may not be copyright infringement. So this is a OpenAI assistance project, as I mentioned before. So I'm using the assistance UI on the OpenAI Playground platform to create it. It's called the Copyright Law Bot for US. I'm specifying US because I'm pulling specifically from US laws and the Justice Department that have been published, and I'm using a very specific knowledge base for that. So one of which is the laws themselves, the actual Justice Department laws, and then I'm also using a long article on copyright in the music marketplace that is also published by the U.S. Justice Department. Here are the instructions. I wanted to be very specific about the instructions that I gave it. Of course, I could just give one sentence that says, "Oh, you're going to give helpful legal advice on copyright questions." And in a sense, that's the first part of it, but I'm also giving it a bit of a personality. I'm telling it to really rely on the knowledge base by default. If absolutely necessary, I'm allowing it to search for a source on the web, but always make it clear when there is a source from the web that's not using the knowledge base that we have. I'm also telling it to clearly cite the source with a link and provide links for the person to peruse themselves so the user can sort of know how different information is being parsed to create the answer that they're getting. I'm making sure that it's very specifically using things from the knowledge source. Don't go outside of that unless absolutely necessary. It's also giving a precise confidence level, which would go from 1 to 10, and the score of 10 would be absolutely confident. It's extremely clear that within the knowledge base, this is a legal sort of information that would be helpful and be clear within the laws of the US, and then 1 being completely unsure if the answer provided is legally accurate, and always giving a detailed reason whenever providing a confidence score. So it's also giving instructions that if the user were to ask a question that has nothing to do with copyright law, that politely telling them that that's not what you're here for, really, what the assistant is here for. So this is a Python app that I have that uses this assistant. It's wrapped in a sort of like web app shell, kind of within HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. First, I'm importing the necessary libraries for the Python script. I'm specifying my OpenAI API key, which is in my assistant config file, which I'm not going to show you. I'm initializing the Flask app. I am using the thread to store the conversation library. I am serving the chat interface from an HTML template. So that's my HTML file I'm pointing to here. I'm getting the user's message from the request JSON. I am adding the message to the thread. I am then running the assistant using the message history in the thread, so the assistant can use previous questions and previous answers to provide the most helpful and accurate information. I'm going to keep checking the run status, and if anything, if there's a sort of error or failure, it'll be known within the chat. For instance, if the API key was missing or wrong, or if the assistant ID was missing or wrong. And then I'm getting the assistant's latest reply from the thread, sending the reply back to the front end so it can be viewed on the web page, and then running the app in debug mode so we can make sure that everything is running the way we want it to. I have a very, very short HTML document, and then, styling it up with CSS and allowing there to be interactivity with JavaScript. So it's a very, very relatively simple app, but it is, I find, very useful and quite fun and interesting for people who are interested in AI and how these can be used in our everyday lives. So I'm going to ask it a question. I am using a sample from a Biggie Smalls song. The sample is 5 seconds long, but the song is sampled from is copyrighted. If I publish my song on a streaming service, will that be copyright infringement? So it's typing, it's letting us know that it's sort of thinking about the answer that it's about to give. Using a 5-second sample from a copyrighted Biggie Smalls song without permission is very likely to be considered copyright infringement. Length alone does not determine legality, which is very much helpful, because there's this myth that if you use less than 10 seconds of somebody's song, that it's not copyright infringement, which, yeah, it's of course a myth. And yeah, it's also telling us that it's sort of in a gray area, because there is a potential that you could be using the way in which you're using it is fair use in some way. It really depends. And it's giving us a confidence score of 7 out of 10. So generally, copyright law requires licensing for samples used in commercial projects, regardless of length, but the exact outcome can depend on various factors. So that one is very helpful, because if I'm about to publish a song, I'm very likely to infringe upon this copyrighted material, and I could get in trouble. It's not good for the original artist as well. So another question I might have is, what are the copyright? Okay, here we are, all over the place here. What are the copyright laws in Saudi Arabia? I might be launching a product in Saudi Arabia, and I want to know what the copyright laws are out there. So this could be quicker, of course, but I'm using Nano because I'm using it for my own personal work. I really don't need to have it be much quicker than that. You can see it probably took about 5 seconds to give us our answer, but I'm a chatbot specifically trained to provide information about U.S. copyright law and intellectual property matters. I do not have detailed knowledge about copyright laws in Saudi Arabia. For accurate information regarding, so it's helping us out by providing okay, you might want to look at this resource, but ultimately that's not really what I'm here for. And then it's giving us a full confidence score of 10 out of 10, because it knows for certain that its expertise is limited to U.S. copyright law. And then I might ask it a question like, how do I meditate? Which doesn't really have anything to do with copyright laws, and certainly has nothing to do with the knowledge base that I provided. I'm here to assist with copyright and intellectual property questions. If you have any questions related to copyright law or getting permissions, feel free to ask. So it's politely telling me, basically, this is not what I'm here for, and I'm here to use the knowledge base that I'm meant to. So this is my OpenAI assistance RAG system that uses Python and that uses a Python web app to have a helpful copyright law assistant. I hope that this was illuminating, and I hope you have a lovely day. Thank you.